All righty. You ready?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, here we go.
Okay.
3, 2, 1. This is Inside Look. I'm Jeff Lyons, joined today by former 14 News anchor, Assistant News Director Beth Sweeney, now Executive Director of the Evansville Red Cross of the American. Let's see, I want to give the right title for the Red Cross. It's not just the Evansville Red Cross. It is the Southwest chapter, right?
Exactly. Yes. 26 counties.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I knew it was a bunch of counties like that too. Thanks for coming on, Beth.
Oh, thanks for having me.
I know you're busy. So I got questions about the Red Cross.
Sure.
And just for full disclosure, I gave blood Sunday, so I've done my bit. You know, I've given 5 gallons in my lifetime. I'm one of those guys. Yeah.
That is amazing.
My wife and I do it. We have a regular blood drive at our church, so it's real easy. And we actually maxed out one year where we couldn't, you couldn't give anymore. They would have taken it, I think, but they actually said, no, we're not going to. We can't.
That is amazing. You can only give every 56 days.
Right.
So you're dedicated.
So
Thank you.
Time to Oh, well, I would not self-promotion. I'm just saying.
No, it's wonderful.
And it's easy and all that.
It is.
But anyway, enough about me. This is all about you. So we'll start out just for folks that maybe don't remember or want to have their memories refreshed. Talk about your time here at 14 News. I know you began in the mid-2000s, right? You were in that era.
Yes.
And talk about your journey here at 14 News before you went to the Red Cross.
Sure. Well, I started out as a morning news anchor, and my first day on air as an anchor was the Monday after the November 6th tornado back in 2005. So a very memorable way to start my career here at 14 News. Just an eye-opening experience, obviously, telling that story in the tri-state. And I was on the morning show for about 8.5 years, had my son, Oliver, and I switched to the evening news, did the 4 and 5 p.m. for a few years, and then was assistant news director for the last 2 years that I was here. So about 15, 16 years, I called this place home. Yeah.
And then, as you told me, I think when we did an interview for the 70th anniversary show, you decided to kind of step on the other side of the tape. And the tape meaning when something happens, the first responders, the media's on one side, and the first responders, the Red Cross, are on the other side of that tape. So you decided to go to the other side, literally, and that has to have been a big about face in your journey in one hand, and then on the other hand, you've always been about the community and serving the public. It fits, right?
Sure. Yeah, some very, very much some similarities for sure. I had been working with emergency officials, first responders, elected officials for many years in the role in news, and that really played over into the Red Cross because that's a big part of what I do. I'm talking to emergency managers and the local mayors and different people that are community leaders every day. So that really transferred over into the new position. And then, some things are very different. But I was really, just seeking another challenge and another purpose. And I certainly found it at Red Cross.
How did you train for that job? I mean, I know your media work here, and of course you manage the newsroom, so you handle people. But it's much different, of course, a much more complex organization, I'm guessing, than American Red Cross. So do you go to like a crash course? Do you go to like a camp, an indoctrination? How do you learn what you need to know to do your job?
Well, of course, there's lots of training involved. We have 5 service lines, so learning everything that the Red Cross does. I remember my boss, when I first started, said it's going to take you at least 1.5 years to even understand all of the services that we provide, and boy, was he right. But just a few months into my Red Cross journey, we had the explosion that happened on Weinbach Avenue. So I really got firsthand experience right on the spot there. And from there, we had some tornadoes and we had some other ice storm events at the time. So the hands-on experience and really just getting out there with our volunteers has been the best way to learn the job, for sure.
You don't have a choice. I mean, you got to figure it out
Right.
and now, right? Or yesterday, if you can. And in talking about like the explosion, the ice storm, the tornadoes and things like that, as a first response organization, whose responsibility is it to know when stuff happens? Like, do you just watch the news? Does your phone ring? How do you find out? Oh, okay, we're going to have to. And I'm not being flip here. A big thing like a tornado you would know about, but a smaller thing, a house fire, a family displaced. How do you find out about these things?
Well, all of the above that you just mentioned, but we have an emergency number. We have one for family members or people that are impacted to call, which is just 1-800 Red Cross. And then we have an emergency number for those first responders. So anytime that the fire department is on the scene of maybe a single family house fire and they see that a family is going to be displaced, that there's major damage to this home, they call that number, which is manned 24/7, and a duty officer dispatches a team of 2 volunteers to the scene. We do our best to try to get there within the first 2-hour window. Oftentimes, as the family's sitting in their car trying to figure out where they're going to go, what they're going to do next. But it's learning. We have to have those great relationships with the fire departments, the emergency managers. They keep us informed of everything as well. And then, of course, the news. So anytime I see breaking news pop up on my app, I know, I need to pay attention to that and see what's going on.
Yeah. So you talked about 26 counties here. I think you go all the way to Sullivan almost.
Terre Haute.
And you have Terre Haute as well. Okay.
Yes. So we have 16 counties in Indiana, 7 in southern Illinois, and 3 in western Kentucky.
So almost like the 14 News viewing area, a little bit larger to the north there.
Yes.
So that's an incredible amount of responsibility then for one agency, one director to handle. So how does that work then? Are there individuals in each county, or do you work with, and I guess you're not a government agency at all, right? I mean, you're separate from that.
Correct. So we have a government charter. So back in 1900 was the first congressional charter was signed for the Red Cross, which states that we will respond when disasters happen. We will also support service to the armed forces, but we don't receive government funding for our disaster response. 90% of our workforce is volunteers. So we have to have volunteers in all of those communities that are ready to respond. Sometimes they deploy from other areas as well to help us out. So it really takes a village to be able to do this. And we have to have those great working relationships with other community partners. We work really closely with the Salvation Army and Catholic Charities and other nonprofits, the Indiana VOAD, to be able to provide the best services we can.
Yeah. What makes a good volunteer? Like, what kind of people show up and say, hey, I want to help out?
Sure. Well, it depends on the volunteer opportunity. We have lots of them. But to respond to disasters, someone who's compassionate and caring and a very good active listener. We want to make sure that we are listening to the needs of the community or the people that are impacted so that we can serve them the best way possible. To be a disaster responder, it is a little bit heavier of a lift in that we ask that you are on call for a couple of shifts a month, just in case we get calls during those times to be able to respond. But mostly just having compassion and a want to serve.
Do they tend to be like retired law enforcement and medical people that were already kind of in that realm, or is it just like me, like walking in and saying, hey, I'll do that?
Sure. Well, we have a little bit of everything. We do. I'm thinking about one of our volunteers right now who's a retired firefighter here in Evansville that's been working with us and responding, on a daily basis. He was just in the office when I left. But then we have other volunteers who maybe have recently retired and are looking for a way to give back. We had an executive from Old National Bank that was an amazing disaster responder. He just moved to Michigan, but and some that are working and then they do this on the side. So it really just depends. There's a little bit of everybody.
Yeah. So I guess one of the most visible things with regard to the Red Cross, you can check your phone if you're needed.
Didn't realize it was not on silent.
No, that's okay. This breaking,
breaking
podcast,
news.
Something could happen.
There's nothing going on right now.
Good. Well, that's reassuring. So I think the most visible thing that a lot of people experience with the Red Cross is the blood drive.
Sure.
And I mentioned my experience with it, and yet. I try to encourage others, and it's always kind of a hard ask. It's like, oh, it's nothing. You just go in and, it's 15, 20 minutes and you're done. How do you, because there's always a need for blood, right? I mean, you never hear the Red Cross say, we are flush with blood, go home and wait till you hear from us. There's never enough, right? So how do you encourage, expand the donor base for blood donors?
Well, we really try to just tell the story of those blood donors or those who have benefited from that blood. So getting out there and sharing those stories like 14 News did just a few weeks ago when you sponsored our blood drive and getting that out to the community. I mean, chances are most people know someone who has been a recipient of blood. It could be for cancer or sickle cell disease or a mother who lost blood during childbirth. So really trying to express that and just encourage people to come give it a try. We make you as comfortable as possible. It really is, like you said, a pretty quick, easy process, but we know a lot of people don't like needles, and we understand that as well. But you can also help out by encouraging your friends and family to give if it's not the right decision for you.
Yeah, my rule of thumb, I never look. I have no idea. I mean, I know what's going on over there, but I never look, and it's fine.
Yes.
Never had a problem. And now they've even a little promotion here. They don't stick your finger anymore. You just put it in a little thing to measure your hemoglobin, I think it is, or iron or whatever. And and it's seamless. You've got an app to do the questions and everything. And the app is cool because after you give your donation, well, you know this, why am I selling this to you? But it tells you where the blood is. Okay, well, the blood went to a processing center in Memphis, and now it went to such and such. And you're like, oh, wow. You know, it used to just be you gave it, you didn't know anything. But it kind of at least gives you an idea, you know, of the difference that you're making. So interesting. And, you know, blood drives all over the place, and you can always go out to Stockwell too, and we've done it there. And I've tried to, you know, spread my blood around a little bit. So the other question I had was, you talked about 5 divisions. I'm assuming blood was one, probably disaster response was the second.
Sure.
I know too there's like Red Cross training for like CPR and lifeguards and things like that. So how does that fit into your plate of responsibilities?
Sure, just supporting the community in that way. So I work really closely with our training services department. They're the ones out there conducting those classes, making sure people are aware that we offer them. So we do those at the Red Cross office. And then if you have a larger group that needs trained, we will come to you. So CPR, AED certification, lifeguard training. We have contracts with different city pools. We even do babysitting classes. There's a little bit of everything that we offer through the community. And we also have a free service where we teach hands-only CPR. So we have great partnerships with the University of Southern Indiana and the University of Evansville nursing programs. And those nurses are trained every year to go out and teach hands-only CPR and other emergency preparedness programs in the community. It's part of their clinical curriculum.
So does that mean you don't give mouth-to-mouth between the compressions then?
Yes, it's learning how to keep those compressions going until an AED can be located or an ambulance gets there to help that person. So this is something free that the Red Cross provides to the community.
Sure. What was the biggest surprise for you once you walked in and, you know, okay, here's your office, here's the keys, these are your responsibilities, and now your head's spinning for a while. What was the biggest surprise for you, though, as you then kind of got settled in?
Sure. I think the biggest surprise was just how quickly I would be thrust into disaster response, because like I said, the explosion happened and then we had a tornado, and now what we're seeing with today's climate, as you know, is we have gone from acute to chronic. We are in a state of continuous response. So it surprised me at first that, you know, every time I would think I'm heading in this direction and I'm supporting this endeavor right now, you have to pivot all the time. So I've gotten used to it now, but that took a little getting used to. It's, you know, I guess I could compare it to when we have breaking news. You know, we think we're working on one story and then something happens and you do have to pivot. But this obviously on a much bigger scale, because you could be helping hundreds and thousands of people.
Yeah. You said there were 5. Did I guess 3 of them
You
successfully?
got 3 of them,
okay.
exactly.
What were the other 2?
The other 2 are service to the armed forces and international services. So these are ones that a lot of people don't know about, but service to the armed forces is actually how the Red Cross got started. When Clara Barton saw the need on the battlefield for military men and women to be taken care of, that their loved ones were not being notified of how they were doing or their conditions. That's how Red Cross really got started here in America, and we continue to honor that to this day. So we are kind of that middle person for emergency notification. So if a family member back home has a deployed family member and there's an emergency, they call us. They call our Hero Care Network. We work with the military to get them back home.
Yeah, so really just far-reaching and deep-reaching activity, of course, from the Red Cross on a national basis, but even the local chapters, because obviously, as you mentioned before, nothing's happening here, but we got a hurricane, let's say North Carolina, then somebody from here probably will have to go and help out, right?
Yes.
And have you ever done any of that? Have you? I thought you had at some point.
Yes.
So what was that experience like?
It was incredible. So last year we had severe flooding, catastrophic flooding in Iowa, and I traveled there for 2 weeks and served as an elected official liaison. So I was working with elected officials, mayors, congressmen and women, and different people in the community to make sure that they were aware of what Red Cross was doing, to hear any concerns or any needs. I would go out and visit the shelters every single day, kind of be the eyes and ears for the organization. And it was an incredible experience. And you met volunteers from all over the country that had traveled there and given 2 weeks of their time to serve in shelters, provide mass feeding in the communities, hand out cleanup kits, do disaster assessments. It really is just an incredible thing to watch.
Yeah. What excites you about, the future here with the Red Cross? Obviously, this is a career for you, and you've been there now for quite some time. You're settled in. What do you hope to do maybe that you haven't done yet?
Well, I don't know if it's something that I haven't done yet, but I'm just really passionate about the work that we're doing with disaster relief and disaster response. We're really looking at a new vision for the Red Cross, which is community mobilization, because we know with so many disasters happening, they're more catastrophic, people are being displaced for longer periods of time, that we really are going to have to rely on community partners to help us be able to support this mission. So that's a big focus over the next few years with our teams on a local level, a chapter, and then moving up to the region and division, and then of course with national. But it is being able to sustain what we do every single day and providing that direct financial assistance and that care and compassion for our clients is number one. But we can't do it alone. So I'm looking forward to building even more relationships than we already have in the community and getting people on board to lend a hand. We know in this community when bad things happen, people come together, but we want to get them trained ahead of time and prepared to be able to respond or react and take care of themselves, perhaps, when something happens. So we're really excited to be working on that endeavor.
How do you handle it when you're in the path of it? Like the ice storm, I assume maybe your power was off during that time, or what else? We had tornadoes near, I think, where you live, approximately. I don't know if you had damage or not. But when you're also, dealing with whatever the situation is, and yet you're responsible for these 26 counties. How do you balance that then?
Well, it's interesting that you ask that, because when the tornadoes happened back in
April 2nd, they all happened on April 2nd. Yes.
2 in a row, right?
Yeah.
So this past April, I was driving home after a very long day. It was the day after the tornado, I believe. And of course, I had been working in communities providing support. And I pull into my driveway, and Cliff Weaver, the Vanderburg EMA director, is standing in my yard taking pictures. And I said,
That's
what
never
are you
a good
doing?
Sign.
And which we had lost trees
Sure.
in the night before, and we had tons of damage in our yard. And he said, Beth, the path went right through your yard. And it happened the same time on the April 2nd the year before. But, you pivot, and I have great family and a wonderful husband that takes care of the kids and understands, hey, I know you got to go. Just go take care of what you need to do. My parents come into town from Kentucky and help support so that I can go out there and do what I need to do.
Yeah. This is a far cry probably from growing up in Kentucky and a different path completely. You want to talk a little bit about your high school years, and you were Miss Kentucky, correct? Or
I was runner-up.
Runner-up.
Well,
yeah. We can put our thumb on the scale here. Come on.
Yeah. No, I grew up in a very small town in Kentucky, really small, very close-knit community. I wanted to be a Broadway star when I was young. I went to the University of Kentucky. I started out as a theater major and realized, maybe, I don't know if this is the most sustainable path for me. And I took a couple different classes. I took an economics class and a business class and a journalism class. And journalism was really where I knew I wanted to go. I love to write. and I love to be a storyteller. So that's kind of how all of that developed. From a very young age, I knew I wanted to do something in the public. But then it's interesting how life changes, and I had another child, and I have a 3-year-old, and trying to find work-life balance. I don't know that really exists.
Yeah, I always wonder what that is too. You hear a lot about it. You read it in all the papers.
Yeah, exactly. So but Red Cross has been wonderful to me, just like 14 was my family, and I found, an extended family at the Red Cross. So it's been pretty incredible.
Well, I'm glad you could come by and talk a little bit about it. And, there's always a need for blood. We've mentioned that. People can always donate to the Red Cross. Pretty simple to do on your website. What else can they do? I guess be prepared, right? You mentioned that earlier, being proactive, being able to be self-sufficient in the event of a disaster. We try to preach that, having a disaster kit and things like that here. But what else can we as a community do to help the Red Cross?
Well, you can call me and you can raise your hand and say, I'd like to volunteer with the Red Cross, or when big things happen, I would like to come help out. And we can get you the training that you need and help connect you to our other volunteers, so that you can respond when those big things happen. And as you and I both know, they happen a lot more frequently than, perhaps they did 10, 15 years ago. So chances are, as what we've seen from the beginning of January with the ice storm and tornado after tornado and then flooding, that the likelihood of you getting a chance to give back to your community is probably just around the corner.
Yeah. All right. Beth Sweeney, thanks so much for coming out.
Thank
I really
you.
appreciate your time.
So good to see you.
Yeah, and all that you're doing, of course, at the American Red Cross. I'm Jeff Lyons. If you'd like to listen to more of our podcasts, you can do that wherever you get your podcasts. You can watch on the 14 News YouTube channel. For Inside Look, I'm Jeff Lyons. Thanks for joining.